Um, Alright, are we good? Let me get all right. We're good. We're good. We're good. Crap. Okay. All right. Welcome back. Obviously, I know it's been a while since I've streamed. I think it was last week whenever I last streamed. Been really busy. A lot's happened since, so I'm gonna try my best to start getting back up to date with streaming every day. Uh, but as of right now, been a little busy. Welcome back to the forecast, though. I'm Tennessean Mapper, if you don't know already, and we do weather here. Kick starting off today. This is our day one. This is today's outlook. Back the first thing I do that's a mistake is do that. Today's out. We got a enhanced risk of severe weather. This includes uh Wyoming. This includes southeastern Wyoming, southwestern Nebraska, and northeastern Colorado. This includes Douglas, Cheyenne, Fort Collins, Fort Morgan, and Sterling all in that enhanced risk. Then we got three separate slight risks to talk about. Slight risk goes from for the first one encompasses the enhanced risk goes from Wyoming all the way back down into Texas, uh, Nebraska, and Kansas. Got another slight risk that includes Utah and Nevada, and then we have another slight risk, arguably the sneakiest of the three slight risks, which include Wisconsin, Illinois, and a bit of Indiana. And a large marginal risk encompasses that. We have a huge, I guess you would call it like a, what would you like? What's this for? Don't know. Oh, and then we have marginal risk surrounding those areas. One back down here in Florida. Main concerns for today will be damaging winds up to 60 to 80 miles per hour at times, especially anywhere within this hatch zone, which means winds exceeding 75 miles per hour are possible. We have another 15% back over here in Wisconsin, Illinois, and a 15% for Utah and Nevada, which includes Salt Lake City. The biggest concern is hail. We are talking about a Sig 2. This is pretty close to being a maxed out hail risk, but we do have a 30%, or my fault, not 30. Is that 30%? 30% hail risk. That's a Sig 2, which means hail up to the size of softballs are possible. So giant hail, a possibility today. And anywhere within this regular hatched risk, you can expect up to uh, baseball sized hail at times. Got another hail threat over here, which includes Wisconsin, Illinois, and once again Indiana, and surrounding areas include that as well. We have three separate tornado risks we need to talk about. We're going to start with the obvious one. We have a 5% tornado risk that includes Wyoming, Nebraska, and Colorado, Fort Morgan, and Cheyenne. This is not a very big day, but I wouldn't rule out an isolated tornado or two, perhaps even an isolated strong tornado. Probably back down, probably back over in the northern section of this is where I would say the greatest chance of seeing a strong tornado would be possible. Uh, we'll talk about that tornado risk here in a minute. We have a 2%, which includes Oklahoma, bits of Texas, and a bit of Arkansas. Mainly for any spin up tornadoes that can get going within a cluster of storms. Now, this 2% is the one that I think I'm actually most concerned about today, which would include Milwaukee, Chicago, Rockford, and Ottawa, and Oshkosh. I think they say that. I'm a little shocked they didn't add a hatched risk for back over here in northern Wisconsin. I'm really confident that we'll see at least an isolated strong tornado today up here in Wisconsin. Not anything like intense, but I think we'll see an isolated strong tornado maybe uh sometime today. Uh, but that's what we got going on. Tomorrow we have we have a slight risk of severe weather. This includes going from Wyoming, stretching all the way down to Texas, back in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas, Colorado, and Nebraska, and a tiny bit of South Dakota. Marginal risk surrounds that, and we have another marginal risk, which includes Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, and a tiny bit of Maryland. Main concerns for tomorrow is going to be damaging winds. Large hail is also a possibility. Tornado threat is elevated. We have a 5% hatched risk for tornadoes, which means EF2 plus tornadoes are possible tomorrow between Oklahoma and Kansas. So we have to keep an eye on that tomorrow. And then going into the day 3, you're taking the L. Quite literally. If you live in this, you are taking the L. We have a L-shaped marginal risk for severe weather. This is going to be for uh, Friday. So main concerns will be damaging winds, large hail, maybe an isolated brief tornado somewhere back over here in Missouri and Arkansas is where it'd be the greatest concern. Although, if we're actually talking about that, I wouldn't rule out a marginal risk being issued somewhere back over here. Or let me redraw that. Somewhere back over here, where I'm actually concerned with this area for being a tornado hotspot Friday. We're gonna have a very ripe atmosphere for tornadoes. It's just gonna really come down to is storms actually gonna fire. But if models do show storms getting fired, we could see a localized tornado outbreak somewhere between Illinois, Tennessee, back into Kentucky and Indiana. It really just comes down to how storms actually evolve throughout the day. Obviously, we're going to wait to get more model runs to come in to decide that. Day 4 outlook. This includes North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana. Just another wind and hail threat. Nothing of concern there. Real quick, I want to go over to the model runs because I want to show. This is a 16Z. This is what we're expecting today. Gosh, let me get rid of that. All right, restart. This is what we're expecting today. We have ongoing storms across Oklahoma, Arkansas, all the way back down to Mississippi. Isolated, damaging winds, and maybe a isolated brief spin up tornado is possible with those storms. This is gonna be okay. As of one, we're going to expect storms to kind of try to get going over in Wisconsin. If we do see any storms actually, get into this environment, a tornado definitely cannot be ruled out. And as we start approaching, the 3, 4 p.m., we're going to see all these cells. I'll say this: majority of these cells will be rotating. It'll be very unlikely these things aren't rotating. The environment is very favorable for storms rotating. As we approach the afternoon hours, storms will continue going on between over here, and it will have a bunch of supercells kind of going off back over here near Cheyenne, Wyoming, and Colorado. These storms they'll quickly merge, but if we can get an isolated strong supercell just ahead of these other supercells, wouldn't rule out a big time tornado photogenic probably, even though it's 9 p.m. there. Uh, and then into the overnight hours, this will all congeal into a big cluster of storms pushing into Kansas. Depending on how this goes, we'll decide how tomorrow's tornado threat actually plays out for that. The rainfall is a big thing we got to talk about. Is the rainfall. Uh, Fortunately, nothing too crazy with rainfall. Just a large slight risk. One rule out a moderate risk being issued somewhere back over here. Just depends on the confidence of how if a cluster of rain will actually get there. Tomorrow, same thing. Wouldn't rule out a moderate risk somewhere. Really, I don't think seriously. You look on the day 3, couldn't rule out a moderate risk somewhere back over here. I think every one of these days, besides day 5, has the potential to be moderate. Maybe this one, but it'd have to explain the slight risk out. Day 5, there is no risk, although there'll probably be a risk somewhere back over here for the day 5. Actually, I take back there won't be because there'll be a huge heat wave. We actually got to talk about the heat wave, y'all. Heat wave is real. It is real. Let's pull up that heat wave. Can we do that? I not want that. So we got going. We got a big time heat wave that's going to be occurring. We have a large heat wave that's going to start. Golly. We have a large heat wave that starts back over here. We're going to be talking about temps nearing 100 degrees in some areas. My area specifically, back over in Tennessee, is going to be nearing 100 degrees. It'll feel like 99 at one point. So, just something to keep an eye out on. Uh, Nothing concerning with that. Drought situation has improved. I can gladly tell y'all the southeastern drought of 2026 is over. We still have some spots in Arkansas and Mississippi where the drought remains serious, but if you're in Georgia, Florida, this is really starting to lighten up on the drought situation. We had a big time drought was unfolding across the southeast, and finally you get all that rain. It doesn't need any more rain though. Too much rain already. Yeah, do we have an update on that? I need an update on that. We got a high risk, by the way. High risk of extreme heat. My goodness. It's going to be a cat. This might go down as one of the biggest heat waves I've seen. And I'm not even joking. The heat wave that's going to be coming through is going to be one of the worst I think we've had in a couple of years. And, that's really hard to beat that, but you rarely ever see the SPC issue a high risk of extreme heat along the Atlantic coast and three separate moderate risk of extreme heat. I can't tell you the last time I've ever seen that, and I've been looking at weather for years. Never seen them ever pull this, where they pull out a triple barrel moderate risk of excessive heat and then a high risk of excessive heat. Unbelievable what's going on. Unbelievable what's gonna be going on. We could take a look at the models. Let's go to the H triple R. Let's go to the GFS because the GFS is going to do yeah, the GFS is going to do a really good job on this. We're going to look at the temperature and apparent temperature. Yeah, we're gonna look at that. This is the 12Z run. This is kind of gonna show y'all where this. Hold on. Let me do this. It's gonna show you how bad the temperature is gonna get. We are talking about 91 degrees over there. That's not too bad. Okay. What we're talking about is as we get closer. Look at that. There'll be Amarillo is gonna pick up 102 degrees. Uh, More specifically, the heat wave is gonna be crazy over there in West Texas. But I mean, look at this. There's gonna be a day. My goodness, where we're gonna see 91 degrees across the board. We're gonna have a big time heat wave just constantly impacting. I mean, look at this. We are talking about breaking. That's 93 near my area. We're talking about 100 near Wichita Falls, Lawton, and Abilene. This is a obviously you will expect this sometimes a lot of times during the summer, but with all the extra humidity and dew points that are going to be out there, it's going to be insanely hot. It's going to feel quite literally, even if like, for example, like in Knoxville, it says 93, but yet on the dew points and the humidity, you're looking at more like 110 degrees you're talking. And that's just purely the extra added on heat of what it feels like. And it's not going to get any better. And no, I hate to say it, we're going to stay in the 92s. It's going to barely go away. 99 in Arkansas. Truly insane. It's only going to start cooling off a little bit, but I mean, by this point, I mean, damage is already done. It's going to start really cooling down to 67 once we get closer to July. But this is too far out to really tell you too much. But basically, what you need to know is going to be hot, and it's going to be blazing hot. Uh, Really anywhere along the Atlantic coast, and this is going to be an extraordinary heat wave if it can work in. So yeah, we had a pretty crazy event that's going to be going down for a heat wave. I actually want to check real quick. This is going to be kind of showing y'all the how this is showing y'all like uh it has the average temperature that's going to tell you is today going to be lower than the average temperature or higher. So it'll kind of show you all what I mean here in just a minute whenever I do this. Try to explain this to the best I can. So whenever you see this heat wave, what's gonna happen is that you're gonna actually something weird is gonna happen is where you're actually talking about temps 5 degrees above average, which isn't crazy. That ain't crazy. Here's what's crazy: the Midwest 17 degrees above average. You continue going. It's fine. It's fine. What do you do? What do you do, Tennessee? 8 degrees above average. South Dakota, 25 degrees above average. I mean, you're talking about these people are burning. We're cooking too much. And you're gonna notice it's like kind of spinning in a circle. The reason for this is that we have what we call a low pressure heat system. That's not a real thing, but that's just what I call it. What happens is that we're having a low pressure system somewhere back over here that's just taking up all this heat and just bringing it. You're gonna see that constantly, constantly, constantly. And it'll eventually cool down as it gets closer. But I probably should have drawn it this way. But what I'm saying is, why are they issuing the day two? Oh yeah, never mind. My fault. So they did expand the day two. They just did the day two outlook. They literally all they did was expand this outward. That's all they did. Nothing too concerning. Yeah, I know. Yeah, but like I was saying, a big time heat wave's coming. Just a matter of being. If you really want to talk about the temperature, I guess we can go over that. We do have let me get rid of the drawing. 80% chance of above normal temperatures. And in the 8 to 14 day outlook, gosh, still shows a 70% chance. Give me 1 second, y'all. I gotta go do this. All right, sorry about that. Quick phone call needed to be made. Curious, is there any like? What's funny is that we still have winter weather area to talk about. My God, you want to talk about winter? Let's talk about winter back over here, in Mount Rainier. Yeah, it's still winter. It's Christmas in June. That's what we like to call it, Christmas in June. Snow load's the biggest concern. Yeah, it'd be my biggest concern. Let's look at the total rainfall over the next couple of days. We can go to day 1 through 5. Day 1 through 5, a bunch of rain. That's basically all I can say across St. Louis. Across the Midwest is getting hammered this year. Days 1 through 7 look identical. Nothing's really too crazy about this. It's that time of year where we see the United States get all this rain, especially during a super, or as I'm calling it, a hyper El Nino, just a crazy strong El Nino. Uh, Basically, it means the Pacific temperatures are extremely above normal temperature. Uh, Pacific waters are above normal temperature like crazy. I think it's like 5 to 8 degrees that they're above right now. I could be wrong on that, but that's like in those terms, it's insane to think about that being the case. What do they do? So they just expanded the hatch risk of tornadoes, which makes sense. They expanded the wind risk. They didn't add a hatch tail risk, which I'm a little shocked by. I think we can see some isolated hailstones of the baseball size. Yeah, I haven't seen them issue a C2 hail risk in a minute. I think the last time we saw it was, oh my, like 3, 4 weeks ago. Actually, no, that ain't right. I think it was the North Dakota one. But I'm thinking about it might have actually been 3, 4. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I remember that storm. Oh, I don't know where it was. Where was it? Yeah, here we go. St. John. So we had that violent supercell just roll through. It's dropped like 4 inch hail. I think it produced like 3 separate tornadoes. One of the things, yeah. But yeah, oh yeah, stuff about hurricanes. Why not? Had tropical disturbances going on. Two separate ones occurring near each other. My goodness, I can't stop. That's basically all I got. If anything comes up, I'll like be here ready. But for now, I think I'm good. I'm just gonna go and end the stream, and then I'll be back on later, maybe to record.